She finally took off her wedding dress and pants, and everyone realized she had been pregnant for 18 months. But she had done something unexpected to cancel the wedding. At this moment, the groom finally realized how wrong he was, but it was already too late. It turned out that half an hour earlier, the groom had changed the agreed upon 11,000 dowry to 520. The bride was confused and asked what was going on. She said they had agreed on 11,000 dowry before, why was it now only 520? The groom tried to justify himself by saying 520 represented his love for her, and if he gave more, their life wouldn't last long. Although the bride was upset and didn't want to accept it, she thought about the child in her belly and couldn't let the baby be born without a father, so she had to swallow her anger. However, what happened next was even more absurd. When they arrived at the wedding venue, they met kids blocking the way asking for red envelopes. The groom not only hadn't prepared any, but also took the 520 dowry from the bride and gave it to the children as a red envelope. Seeing the groom being so unreasonable, the bride could no longer hold back and firmly said the dowry money couldn't be given as red envelopes. The groom, however, claimed he had already given out all his prepared red envelopes and said the 520 was just borrowed. Seeing the bride refuse to agree, the groom started blaming her for embarrassing him in front of so many relatives. While they were arguing, the mother-in-law rushed over, grabbed the red envelope, and mocked the bride, calling her a big-bellied woman without a family who didn't deserve any dowry. She said the dowry was actually her son's money and then handed the envelope to the kids, telling them their aunt was stingy and shameless. Seeing his mother getting worse, the groom tried to comfort the bride, saying his mother was doing it for her own good and promised to make up the 520 dowry after the marriage. Then he happily walked into the banquet hall with his brothers. The bridesmaid couldn't stand it anymore and said this family was really bullying the bride. At that moment, the bride finally woke up. She realized she was actually a rich girl from a noble family. 3 years ago, she left home to be with this poor guy. Her father warned her that the guy was stingy and would never give her a good life, but she believed he was kind and gentle, not the stingy man her father described. She even cut off relations with her father. Fortunately, her father didn't give up on her and, hearing she was getting married today, wanted her to have a grand wedding. He instructed his assistant to prepare a dowry worth tens of billions and hurry to the wedding. At that moment, the bride was still angry and entered the banquet hall. She heard relatives talking about her, but when she walked in, they shut up. When the bride served tea and called her mother-in-law mom, the mother-in-law wasn't happy and demanded a change of name fee, threatening not to let her call her mom ever again. The best friend couldn't take it anymore and rushed over. The bride was shocked and stood there. The best friend scolded them for having such a face. The bride immediately asked the groom what was going on, but the groom confidently said it was just a formality and told her to do as his mother said. The groom shamelessly said the house was just taking up space and suggested giving it to his mother for her old age. He threatened the bride that if she wanted to continue the wedding, she had to sign the contract. The bride, unable to bear it anymore, slapped him in the face. The mother-in-law, seeing her son hit, slapped the bride. She cursed the bride for not knowing her place, saying that no one would want a pregnant woman like her. Even the guests around